Hello. Andy.
Hello. So I would like to welcome all the participants for today's webinar. I think I'm audible, sir. Kindly confirm. Participants are requested to kindly confirm if I'm audible.
Shubham, I think now we can start.
Yeah, right. Good afternoon, all the participants. I'm Shubham, and on behalf of Webtel Electrosoft Private Limited, I would like to welcome you all for the third day of the Webtel Vigyan webinar on practical issues and case studies on important topics in GST. Webtel has the best range of compliance softwares and integrated services from GST, e-invoicing, TDS, tax, XBRL to other professional products like Virtual Office, Website for Professional, WebJICE, WebEdge. We already have a satisfied customer base of over 40,000 professionals and big corporates. Before we begin with the webinar, I would like to request all the participants to kindly switch off their videos and kindly post all their queries in the chat box. All the queries will be answered at the end of the session. We have also received a lot of queries prior to the session, so we'll be answering that too. As I already mentioned, the third day of webinar will be taken by CA Rohini Agarwal ji. And also CA Rajiv Khandelwal ji, or the director of Webtel, is also with us. I would like to introduce Rajiv sir and I ask to introduce our speaker for the day, CA Rohini Agarwal ji. Welcome sir, welcome ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my honor and privilege to introduce today's speaker, Rohini Agarwal ji, who is a chartered accountant and cost accountant, as well as a law graduate with over 28 years of academic and industry experience. As you are aware that she has written several books on GST, service tax and corporate laws. She is specially invited to the Indirect Tax Committee of the ICI. She has assisted the World Bank in completing the prestigious Doing Business project relating to indirect taxes in India. Presently, she is working as a principal consultant with ARX Business Advisors LLP. Now, I would like to welcome the speaker to start the deliberations. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you so much. I pay my gratitude to the Webtel for inviting me for this discussion. And a very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all the participants of this session. So it's always a pleasure to share the things about GST, because GST, every topic in GST is such a thing that we can discuss on and on. So many intricacies, so much there in the practice, which keep creating some or the other issue day on day. Although the topic on which we are going to discuss today is reverse charge mechanism, and I think all of you must be coming across this in practice every day. And many of the things seems to be resolved, and many of the things are still there where we keep getting confused what to do, what not to do.
Madam, please be a little louder or use speakers.
Okay. Is it okay now?
It is better now.
Okay, it's better. It is not good.
No, you start. I think it's okay.
Okay, so this is law, you know. So we need to be very particular about the words which we are using. That's what I just want to say. So, okay, so let's start, I think. Let's make this, we got 1.5 hours with us, which is quite a good time for one topic, particularly when it's going to be most of it is a monologue. Of course, I hope that you will be posting some questions, and we've already received some questions that has been told to us. So what we have done is the structure which we have made for discussion is, although it is going to be an issue-based discussion, because I think hundreds of times you must have heard about the provisions which are relating to reverse charge mechanism in the GST law. So the basic focus is actually on the issues which are, some are concurrent issues which are going on, and some are general issues, generic, which keep on occurring day in, day out. So, but to give context to our discussion, we will be talking about some basic concepts in the beginning. It will be a brief thing, but yeah, we will go through it just to keep few things in the mind while we discuss the bigger issues later. So the first thing I would like to draw your attention to the section, which is the levy section, which says, levy section is a very popular section, section 9, because this is the provision which creates charge of GST and which tells who would be the person liable to pay the tax. Because whenever we are talking about the reverse charge, we are simply talking about one thing, that who would pay the tax in a supply transaction. Because basically, if there is a supply transaction, there would be a tax. And again, if there is an exemption, there may not be tax on the same transaction. So the first question is always about the taxability and the exemption of a transaction. So if a transaction generically is taxable, then we would see whether the tax is payable by the supplier or the recipient or any other person. And if it is taxable but it is exempt, so that means on the basic transaction tax is not payable, then there is no question of ascertaining who is liable to pay the tax. Why I'm talking this? Because many people are confused in this, that whether in the case of reverse charge mechanism on an exempt transaction also tax is payable or not. So the first point which I want to make out before going into discussion on this provision is that if your transaction is taxable and the taxability is sustaining in the absence of any exemption or anything, then only we will see whether it is coming under the reverse charge or not. Having said that, let us come to the levy section and see how this section is doing. We will focus on the underlying part of the provision which is written here. So we are talking about levy of the tax of GST, and levy on what? On the value determined under section 15, which is a valuation section, we all know, and at such rate which are prescribed under the law, and the section simply says that this rate will not exceed 20%. It is CGST Act. So that means in total, any tax which is prescribed by the government would not exceed 40%. So these are the two basic things. This is a charging section which is saying any supply, it will be chargeable to tax on the value as ascertained under section 15, and the rate of tax shall be as prescribed. Rate of tax cannot exceed 40%. And in the end, it says it shall be paid by the taxable person. This is the actual point which is relevant for today's discussion. So it is not saying that the tax shall be paid by the supplier. It is simply saying tax shall be paid by the taxable person. If you recall service tax law, section 68 of the Finance Act 1994, the subsection 1 of that section said that for any provision of service, tax shall be payable by the provider of the service. And subsection 2 said that if any person other than such provider is prescribed to retention. So it is saying, the first para, it is saying that the tax be paid by the taxable person. So when I see who is a taxable person, section 2107 says taxable person means a person who is registered or liable to be registered under section 22 or section 24. Now what are these sections telling? If we recall, section 22 and 24 tells when a person should take registration under GST. And they have given a list of incidences when, because under what circumstances a person should get registered under GST. And if I look at clause 3 of 24(1), it says that person who are required to pay tax under reverse charge. It means the persons who are required to pay tax under reverse charge are also taxable person. And if they are taxable person, their levy is already decided in 9(1). So that means 9(1) itself is saying whosoever is taxable person is liable to pay the tax. Now, this taxable person can be either the supplier of the service, or he can be the recipient of the service, or whosoever is covered under reverse charge, or any third party also. So now the question is, chargeability of the reverse charge is already fixed. So what 9.3 and 9.4, which are two major sections in section 9, which are practically defining the scope of reverse charge, are doing. So they are not saying that the person under reverse charge will pay the tax. What they are saying, before we go to that section, let us look at the meaning of reverse charge, which is given under the GST law. It says, reverse charge means the liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of goods or services, or both, instead of supplier. So now in GST, reverse charge is comparatively simply defined. It is only the recipient when he will pay the tax, it will be called a reverse charge scenario. You remember, there could be another scenario where an e-commerce operator may be made liable to pay the tax under section 9 subsection 5 in 3 situations presently, because it says whenever the government would notify, the e-commerce operator would be liable to pay the tax for the transactions which have happened through him, through his portal, or his e-being aggregator through his software. So like the 3 activities which are there in such today, as on today, under that section 9 subsection 5 are: 1, taxi cab service like Ola, which is actually provided by the aggregator. Then those services of short-term accommodation, etc., jahan par supplier is not registered. And then third, those services of housekeeping where supplier is not registered. Because in the next 2 services, if the supplier is registered, they will pay the tax. But otherwise, if the services are provided through e-commerce and the suppliers are unregistered, then e-commerce wala will pay the tax. So here also, the tax is being paid by a person other than the supplier, but it is not reverse charge. So 9.5 is not reverse charge. It is a tax payable by a third person who is neither a supplier nor a recipient, and reverse charge is limited only to the charge on the recipient. Now, again, another question is where to find the reverse charge situations, because usually whenever I come across MSME, particularly businesses, I find that they procure many services and many goods, and they go unaware whether they were liable to pay tax under reverse charge on those procurements. तो यहाँ पर जो नॉन कंप्लायंस है उसके काफी चांसेस हो जाते हैं रिवर्स चार्ज के सिनेरियो में. तो अब सवाल ये है कि if there is a business and that business wants to know whether I am liable to pay any tax under reverse charge, what should that business do? So the answer is that the reverse charge entries are prescribed by the government notifications, which are issued either under section 9.3 or under 9.4 of CGST Act, or जो parallel section है, that is section 5.3 and 5.4 of IGST Act. So that means there are 2 subsections in section 9 in CGST, 2 subsections in corresponding in 5 in IGST, which describe when the reverse charge would be levied. So we are actually gradually coming to the scope of section ki what this 9.3 is doing, because reverse charge person shall pay the tax, it is already written in 9.1. So what 9.3 is doing, let's see. It says that the government, on the recommendations of the council by notification, specify categories of supply of goods or services or both, the tax on which shall be paid on the reverse charge basis by the recipient. So what is the job? The job of 9.3 is empowering the government to specify the category which goods are liable for reverse charge and which services are liable for reverse charge. That's what this is doing. And again, here when we are saying category, I am elaborating it a little more because we will be using this in the further discussion. Category means what? When we talk about goods, any HSN code, like in the GST law, the goods category is defined, or it is explained by way of HSN codes of Customs Tariff Act, 98 chapters, and then there are many subcodes also. So that means when the government specify any good under reverse charge, that definitely should have been covered in one or the other category or subcategory of the respective HSN code which is given. I hope that everybody is aware of the harmonic codes, harmonized codes, जो कि goods को identify करने के लिए use होते हैं, and earlier they were used in customs and excise as well, and customs they are always used because internationally they are same. Now coming to the category of services, the government with the GST law in section by notification number 11 2017, they have given an annexure also. And in that annexure, they have made a list of services along with the classification. And that classification, there is a code number which is beginning from 99, because till 98 there are goods code HSN May, and then from 99 they have started, and then this code is again 6 digit or something. And then in this code, service code, they have elaborated further to define which service activities will be covered in the respective code. So there is a given classification of good, given classification of services under the law, and this 9(3) says that I empower the government to specify the categories of goods or services on which the reverse charge would be applicable. And then it says then in case a supply gets covered under the reverse charge, which is specified by the government, then the recipient who is liable to pay tax shall be the person who is liable for paying the tax. That means ये एक बहुत ही important line है. We may be talking about it if we get time further for the generic discussion, but I am taking it up here. That it is saying that the person, once the government says that this supply is under reverse charge, after that the recipient is liable to pay the tax, that is okay. Now this recipient shall be considered as a person as if he was the person liable for paying tax in relation to supply. What does it mean? Because kai baar kya hota hai, people say that if the tax is being paid under reverse charge, the person who is paying the tax is actually paying the tax on behalf of the supplier, which is not the case. If a supply is under reverse charge, the recipient has independent liability to pay the tax. The supplier does not have any liability to pay the tax on that. So in many situations in India particularly, what happens that suppose aapka vendor hai, even in the case of say GTA, I take an example which is very common. The big GTAs, suppose the GTA while issuing a bill to you adds the tax amount also. Say 100 rupee is the value of service, and GTA on its invoice add 5 rupees also, 5% tax he is charging without ITC situation he has opted, and then he issues you a bill of 105 rupees. You pay him 105 rupees. And after that, you realize ये तो reverse charge liability था. I am a body corporate. I should have paid tax myself under reverse charge as per the list which is given under 9(3). Then you will say I have already paid tax to that person and he has paid it to government. Why should I pay tax under reverse charge? Do you think that it will be a correct legal position if you decide not to pay the tax in this situation? I will say no. Because the government department at any point of time can send a notice to you, see you received GTA service and you have not paid, discharge your liability. Why? Because you were the person liable to pay the tax as per 9(3). So the solution would be, if I go ideally, the solution would be that you will have to deposit the tax in the reverse charge on that particular supply which is received by you, and the other person may go and seek refund, and then contractually you can ask your money back from that person. That is the ideal situation. Of course, you know, when we go to the court, it may happen that we talk about the double taxation situation and we talk about revenue neutrality situation and we take relief from the court. We may take. So we may get relief, we may not get relief. But on this point, on the merits, you won't get relief on this law. Double taxation, revenue neutrality are different aspects. So the point which I'm trying to make here is that why we have to be very, very careful about the reverse charge situation, that in no case we can say that my supplier has paid the tax and I paid money to my supplier, so I am not liable for reverse charge. You will remain liable for paying tax under reverse charge if your supply which you have procured is getting covered under 9(3). So now the question is, how do I know which supplies are getting covered under 9(3)? Now there are two notifications which are there. One, notification number 4/2017, which is talking about, which is giving the list of goods which are covered under reverse charge. And then 13/2017, which is giving the list of services which are getting covered under reverse charge. If I will look at the IGST Act, then the same one is regarding the import of services, which is where the reverse charge payability is there, because that is only in the context of IGST, and then OIDAR services, and then I think ocean freight services also 3. So there are 2-3 extra services which are listed in under the IGST. So that is also very significant to know. Now, having said that, we will see, it is very clear now, goods का एक notification है, अगर हमें ज़रूरत है मेरी क्या goods मैंने जो खरीदी हैं, if they are covered under reverse charge, so I will go and check that notification, and presently 8 types of goods are presently covered under reverse charge supply. So I will look at the notification, get to know, and pay the reverse charge accordingly. And services, if I see, to as on date around 20 service activities are covered. So coming to the goods, this is broad, you know. Abhi we will be talking about these goods and services. 9.3 is the most important section. 9.4 की एक limited applicability है as on date, but 9.4 is more relevant from the perspective of knowing what has happened since the beginning when the GST came. क्योंकि 9.4 के अंदर बहुत सारे changes आए हैं जिसमें अभी भी I find people confused. So we will be talking about 9.4 as well for a while, and then उसके बाद हम 9.3 की जितनी भी सर्विसेज हैं उसको टेक ऑन कर लेंगे, और उन सर्विसेज में जहां जहां पर इश्यूज हमें लगते हैं रिवर्स चार्ज में, वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग दोज इश्यूज. सो 9.3 में ब्रॉडली हमने देख लिया स्पेसिफिक कैटेगरीज ऑफ गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज आर मेंशन्ड कि अगर इफ योर सर्विस इज एक्स देन देयर इज अ रिवर्स चार्ज इन 9.3, इफ योर गुड्स इज वाई देन देयर इज अ रिवर्स चार्ज अंडर 9.3. तो उसके अंदर कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है एज फार एज जेनेरिक थिंग्स आर कंसर्न. नाउ कमिंग टू 9.4. 9.4 भी रिवर्स चार्ज है, but it is a differently defined reverse charge. So kya hua when the law came, when the GST was implemented, then this was whatever is written in column 3 here, it was a language of 9.4. And if we can look at only the red part on the screen, we will see it is saying it is a supply by a supplier who is not registered to a registered person. So it is, अब इसके अंदर एक condition डाल दिया कि it is a reverse charge only in a situation where a supplier is unregistered and the recipient is registered, and it is not defining any category of goods or service. That means for all the supplies, if the supplier is unregistered and if the recipient is registered, there was a reverse charge under 9.4, which was actually a difficult situation. Why? Because one, it really increased a lot of compliance burden on the recipient, because आपका जो section 31(3)(f है, that says that if a person receives any service which is on which tax is payable under reverse charge from an unregistered person, then he will have to issue invoice for that service, and then he has to pay the tax, and then he has to make other compliances of return and all. So one, compliance burden was increased. Second, the supplies which were made by the unregistered person became costly, because earlier the unregistered person who was probably below the threshold, his supplies were not chargeable to GST. Now if the GST was to be paid under reverse charge by the recipient, there was, in fact, his goods became costlier. And thirdly, there was a big confusion that in 9.3 also there were so many specific services where the supplier was unregistered. For example, a body corporate may procure GTA services from an unregistered GTA. So the question was whether this service will get covered under 9.3 or 9.4. So that way, you know, there were many confusions and many issues to the suppliers and recipients both. So what government did initially, they gave one exemption ki, okay, if you receive goods or services worth rupees 5,000 in a day from an unregistered person, then this reverse charge will not apply. But that did not work much. So what the government did, from 13/10/2017, they given an exemption to the entire reverse charge under 9.4. So practically, reverse charge situation under 9.4 was not existing from 13th October 2017 till 28th February 2019. So that means 9.4 was practically suspended. I mean, in a different language, which is technically not correct, because exemption was given to 9.4 and it was getting extended over the period of time. But abhi why I am emphasizing on this, because I get many questions on this. So 9.4 tax liability under reverse charge was there from 1st of July 2017 to 12th of October 2017, and after that till February 2019 there was no liability under 9.4. And from 1st February 2019, this 9.4 provision was substituted by a fresh provision by the Amendment Act 2018, and now so it has taken a new shape now. So in this new shape, it is not as bad as it was when it was a sweeping section where it was saying any supply by unregistered person to registered will get covered under reverse charge. So abhi 9.4 ka kya shape aa gaya? Let us see. It is saying the government may, on the recommendations of the council, specify a class of registered persons who shall, in respect of supply of specified categories received from an unregistered supplier, pay the tax on reverse charge basis as the recipient of such supply or goods or both. So that means first condition they have maintained that it is a supply from an unregistered to a registered person, 1. 2, but it will be a supply in respect of only those specified categories of goods or services which are notified by the government. So that means this sweeping nahi hai. 9.4 is not getting applicable on all supplies. Rather, 9.4 is comparatively narrower than 9.3 now. What 9.4 is saying that 9.4 ke andar whatever reverse charge supplies shall be declared by the government will get covered under 9.4, and in that also only that person will be under reverse charge who is taking the supplies from the unregistered persons. Very interesting. So abhi tak 9.4 mein from this date agar main isko sum up karu, so 9.4 sweeping reverse charge from unregistered to registered from 1st July 2017. Then from 13 October 2017, no reverse charge under 9.4. From 1st of February 2019, selective reverse charge under 9.4. And from that date till today, only 3 services are getting covered under 2019. And all these services, 3 services, notification number 7 by 2019, you are seeing on the screen. These all are the transactions in relation to real estate. And you, I think, must have heard the conferences and seminars a lot about these 3 transactions. So we will not dwell into the detail. It is just an idea that 9.4 में जो reverse charge है, it is only on 3 services today. One is the input goods, 3 goods and services का set I can say. So one is the procurement of input goods and services by a person who is a promoter or a builder who is making the construction. And there, क्योंकि government चाहती है whenever you buy input goods or services for construction, so at least 80% purchases should be from the registered persons. If beyond 80% it is from unregistered person, for that gap you will have to pay tax under reverse charge. और ये yearly payment है, because in one financial year the government would see how much total purchases you have done, and accordingly the percentage shall be decided. Then secondly, capital goods, whatever capital goods that constructor will buy or the promoter will buy, those capital goods should always be from the registered person. If they are from the unregistered person, you shall pay tax under reverse charge. And in the case of cement, the similar provision shall apply. So cement should always be bought from the registered, and if it is bought from the unregistered person, it is okay. Then the recipient of the service shall pay the tax at the rate of 28% on the cement, because that is the tax rate. So these are the 3 major entries under 9.4, and I don't think that there is any confusion as for this entry. So now, having discussed a lot about 9.3 and 9.4 basic construction, one thing, again, one question crops up again and again. The generic question which comes here is that, is the person who is recipient of service under reverse charge or service or goods, whatever, is unregistered, still will he have to pay tax under reverse charge? So a generic answer would be, in 9.3, yes, he will still have to get registered and pay tax under reverse charge, barring some specific situations where there is an exemption granted. But in 9.4, the answer is no, because 9.4 may reverse charge will apply only when the recipient is registered. So in an unregistered recipient's case, 9.4 will not become applicable. So I think that is broadly about 9.4. तो अब जो हमारा जितना further discussion होगा, that will be about 9.3 only.
Rohini ji, a question here.
Yeah.
I'm asking. अब ये सब आपने reverse charge के बारे में इतना बताया है, so I think the people will have to keep these things in mind when they are doing GST audit also. वहाँ अगर उन्होंने नहीं charge किया गया वो सब चीजें हैं, तो I think they will have to report there, right?
Surely. In fact, ये सब इसीलिए है क्योंकि this is a time of review. क्योंकि अभी जो past में हो गया, So, but review के time particularly, एक बहुत ही जब हम audit भी करते हैं या अपनी भी चीजों को suo moto अगर हमें correct करना है, if we want to look at our own things, I think the step is you go to your income and expenditure or P&L account, you look at your expense side and just identify the classes of expense and just check once whether you have paid reverse charge or not. If it was whether, I mean, kabhi aisa bhi hota hai that we were not liable to pay tax under reverse charge and we have paid it. So it is both ways. So I think this is a one of the exercise which should be done while doing GST audit or review. So
Right.
I'll come to that also. I will talk about few situations where we have found that reverse charge was generally, but there are कुछ तो ऐसे इसमें generic area हैं जहाँ पर गलती अक्सर होती है. So another thing, I think goods का जो reverse charge है वो बहुत detail में हमें take up करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि एक तो बहुत use नहीं होता है. सिर्फ इसको एक example के तौर पर I will just talk on this because it is a simple entry. तो ये reverse charge का एक list है 9.3 में जिसमें कि अगर ये वाले goods आप purchase कर रहे हैं, so there would be a reverse charge in case of goods. So the simple point which I want to make here is that when you read an entry of reverse charge, we need to be very careful. So Rajiv, in fact, this is a very significant point because हम जब देखते हैं हमको एक आदत है as a we are chartered accountants and we've been practicing in certain manner from past. So like it is lawyers' job to get into the words, each and every word and the comma and the full stop. And usually we look at the broader statement and we start working. So here I would like to draw back, and I would say it is in fact in this law, whenever we are ascertaining, because it is a question of much of the tax liability, we need to get into every comma and every word which has been used here. And if anything is deviated from that, then we may not be getting covered where we were thinking we were covered. So if suppose I take the description of cashew nuts not shelled or peeled. So if you look at this entry, it is not, यानी ऐसा नहीं है कि any cashew nut you sell, you receive and it is under reverse charge. It is only those cashew nuts which are neither shelled nor peeled. So if you go to the HSN category, you will find 0801 is a broader category, and then you will start looking at it, then you will get the shelled cashew nuts. So it's like you have to see that which niche category this particular entry is getting applied, then only I will go ahead to see whether the other conditions of reverse charge are met or not. Now, here even in the case of cashew nuts which are not shelled or peeled, if these are supplied by the agriculturist only, then there is a reverse charge. If suppose somebody imports and somebody sells these cashew nuts which are neither shelled nor peeled, then there is no reverse charge. So agriculturist, now the question is, who is agriculturist? Even for that, I will have to go to the definition of agriculturist which is given in the law. And then I will have to see that in my case, whether the supplier's description is meeting this, whether the person who is doing cultivation of land by own labor or by family or by servants under his direct supervision. If this is the case, yes, there is a reverse charge. Again, it may happen the case of family, then we will have to go and look at the definition of family under the law, which is saying the family means immediately family, spouse and children, and sister brothers only when they are dependent on us. So the point which I'm, again, I think I've made my point clear that I have to go to the to the end of the entry where to get its exact meaning to see whether in a particular entry I am getting covered under reverse charge or not. Coming to the services, actually, this is the thing where we wanted to come. So reverse charge ke andar the services are defined in isme I think notification number galat aa gaya. This is 13 by 2017. So in this notification, if you will look, there are around 20 entries as on date. And this entry regarding GTA, this is existing since 2005. I mean, not in GST. Earlier, it was in service tax. Service tax, it was introduced in 2005. And there is not much change in this entry if I look at GST also. Sirf ek hi change hai, which is this in the mid column, column number 3, and we will talk about this. We know that who is GTA? GTA is a goods transport agency. Who is a goods transport agency? Who takes goods of one person from destination A to destination B. So the person who only gives a truck is not a GTA. Yeah. So GTA means the person who will take responsibility, and the law says GTA is the person who issues consignment note as well. Now what is consignment note? It is ability also. There is no format of consignment note. But अगर हम simple सी भाषा में बोले, अगर आप अपना सामान एक आदमी को दे रहे हैं, that you make these goods reach to the other place, and that means you need some proof later on that the other person has made your goods reach to the other place. What will you do? You will get signed. I mean, there would be some piece of paper which the recipient would sign. Okay, I have received these many goods. Yeah. So the person who is taking your goods, who is a third party, who is a GTA, from A to B destination, definitely would have some document, would be carrying some document which the other person would sign to make you to assure you that yes, the goods have reached safely. So that is a consignment note. क्योंकि मैंने क्यों elaborate किया again फिर से, because reverse charge तभी लगेगा when a person is providing the services of GTA. If my service becomes of any other nature, although it is a road transport, then it is not GTA, and then reverse charge will not apply. So I will give an example later, but अभी इसी की बात करते हैं GTA की. So suppose I presume that the person is really a GTA, even if he is not issuing a consignment note, but he was supposed to issue a consignment note, still he will be a GTA. Just by saying कि हमने तो कोई paper ही नहीं issue किया, because even if you go to south, anywhere in India, east, west, north, south, we see that the person, I mean, usually the middle level businesses, they say हमारा तो सब verbal चलता है. We don't issue any document. And if you go deeper and deeper to ask them that nobody, how can you believe a truck wala that he will take your 10 lakh worth of goods from destination A to destination B, and you won't need any document from that person to get it signed from the other person that the goods have reached. So practically you will find that, yeah, even if there is no formal consignment note, there could be a consignment note. The main point is any person who takes the responsibility of carrying goods from destination A to B is GTA. So having said that, a person is GTA. Now GTA ke andar, when there is a reverse charge, when, if we look at column 4, when the recipient is of any of these categories. So in sub categories mein na jaake, let us see that these categories are covering almost every category barring an individual who is not registered under GST. So if the recipient is not an individual not registered under GST, then there could be a direct charge on GTA. Otherwise there is a reverse charge. I will say it like that. Having said that, the government has now given an option to GTA for reverse charge. Why? Because जब reverse charge में कोई भी tax pay कर रहा है, total, my total supplies are under reverse charge. I am a sponsor, or I am an advocate, or anybody, or GTA. If my total supplies are under reverse charge, then the recipient would be paying tax on that, and I will, it will be treated like an exempt service for me, because I will not get any ITC for whatever input I have incurred. So the GTA, the bigger GTA, they made a representation to the government कि भाई ठीक है, you have made it under reverse charge, but I don't want a reverse charge. I may pay tax at a higher rate, but I want a direct charge to be there. So government gave an option. GTA को government ने दो tax rate दिए. We have to look at the modality, how the government did it. So there are two tax rates. Either GTA can provide services by charging tax at the rate of 12%, 6% CGST, 6% SGST, and taking full ITC. In this case, there could not be a reverse charge. The second is the GTA can provide services by paying tax at the rate of 5% and no ITC. So this is the GTA position as a service provider, either 12% bracket or 5% bracket. But if a GTA is, and in this 5% bracket, what may happen that this GTA may supply some goods under reverse charge and some under direct charge. Yeah, because is case ke andar, if the recipient is of this status, this GTA may do that. Then in that case, under reverse charge also 5% tax is payable. Under direct charge also 5% tax is payable. In both the cases, GTA will not get any ITC. But if a GTA is providing any service, any supply by way of 12%, then it cannot provide any reverse charge service. So any recipient of service from this GTA cannot pay, is not liable to pay tax under reverse charge. दोबारा से repeat करती हूँ, any GTA, अगर कोई भी GTA 12% के ऊपर अपनी सर्विस सप्लाई कर रहा है, तो फिर वो simultaneously ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि वो अपनी कुछ सर्विसेज 5% के रिवर्स चार्ज पर सप्लाई कर दे. It has to be either 12% or 5% as a matter of business to the GTA. So ये यहाँ पर अभी बहुत सारे लोगों को confusion है. So we will just keep it in our mind. Any GTA, he is either liable to take, either eligible to take ITC by paying 12% or not eligible to take ITC by paying 5%. It may happen that a person GTA who is paying 5% tax and not taking ITC may have some direct charge clients where suppose he is providing services to the individuals who are not registered, or he may be providing simultaneously to the reverse charge person. So this is about GTA. और एक और चीज बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात क्या है, GTA इतना पुराना है लेकिन अभी भी if I maximum queries come from GTA. So GTA में sorry, we have to look at these lines. It is saying the person who pays or is liable to pay freight for transportation of goods by road shall be treated as recipient. अभी हम we have been repeatedly saying recipient is liable to pay the tax. तो बड़ा एक सवाल आता है, who is the recipient? Because there is a consigner, there is a consignee in the case of GTA, and the freight could be paid by anybody. It may happen that the consigner pays the freight or the consignee pays the freight. So they simply define that whosoever is paying the freight shall be the recipient of the service. So इसके कारण आपकी बहुत सारी चीजें resolve हो जाती हैं. Just look at it. It may happen that the consigner might have hired you, and there may be a three-party agreement where consigner said you take the goods to the consignee and consignee will pay the freight. So that means he was also liable. Liability to pay the freight was also on the consignee. And when the consignee pays the freight, then consignee is the person who is liable to pay tax and the reverse charge. In that case, GTA will issue the invoice in the name of consignee, and consignee shall be able to take ITC. If we look at the recipients, service recipients definition, recipients definition is given in the GST Act separately under section 2 of the CGST Act. It says that in the case of services, whosoever pays consideration is the recipient of service. It is not saying whosoever hires is the recipient of service. It says whosoever pays consideration for the service is the recipient of service, and that principle is in tandem with whatever is written here. So this is a very significant point, because kabhi aisa hota hai, consignee pays the freight, consignee pays the tax, and the question comes whether the consignee can take ITC or not. Yes, consignee can very well take ITC of the tax which it has paid under reverse charge for the GTA service procured. Now I think a lot about GTA we have talked. Next services, government services. The services provided by the government, not received by the government. We are talking about the services which are supplied by the government, and let me tell you, this is the biggest area जहाँ पर कि लोग गलती करते हैं for the reverse charge, because the government department knows very well कि भाई whatever service I am supplying, then if there would be a tax, the other person would be liable to pay the tax, the recipient. So they are not bothered. So when you procure anything from the government, anything I'd say, then be careful, and you need to examine whether it will get covered under reverse charge or not. So now when I look at this entry, it simply says कि भाई generally when the government supply anything, then there is no reverse charge, there is no tax, barring this these 3-4 things. One is the renting of immovable property. Yes, it is taxable. When the services of post office, services for air in relation to aircraft vessel, and the services for transportation of goods provided by the government, there is a tax. We know these 3-4 entries, everybody remember by heart. And it says any service provided by the government to business entity. That is about the taxability. So it means any agar koi government business entity ko koi bhi service provide karegi, so then there would be a reverse charge. That much we know, unless it is an exempt service. Generically kuch aise services hain jahan par nahi hai, to nahi hai. Now having said that, let us think what could be those things. Suppose I take an example. In my case also it happened that a client took some license from the government for making cycling tours in a state. It was simple grant of license, a permission from the government, for which the money which was paid to the government is quite a good sum. And he was not knowing that even on this amount there could be a reverse charge payment. Yes, any right, any permission, anything which you take from the government as a business entity, it could be liable to reverse charge, and in most of the cases it is liable to tax. And so there was a reverse charge liability which he had to pay along with interest. A very common example was, जिसमें अभी तक थोड़ा dispute था, now the government has come out with a notification, the liquor license. Even when you are going to do a party in a 5-star hotel and you want to serve the liquor in the party, for every party a license has to be taken by the hotel from the government to serve the liquor with respect to a given party. So in that case, whatever fee was there earlier, the question came, the department was issuing notices that you pay tax and a reverse charge for the fee which you pay for this license. Later on, now they have come out, they have actually included it in it is not taxable, because the GST definition excludes the GST on the alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So in that context, they had a talk with the state, and this happened. So this was a peculiar case, but otherwise, all the rights which you procure, it could be telecommunication right, it could be any kind of rights. So they are getting covered under reverse charge. Another thing where I want to invite your attention is, when we say services provided by the government, it is not including the services by governmental authorities. It is services, if you look at the third column here, central government, state government, union territory, ये तो तीनों government ही हो गए, or local authority. So that means the services either by the government or by the local authority are under reverse charge, but the government agency or governmental authorities, उनसे अगर आप कोई service लेते हैं, so that is not covered under reverse charge. Now, services, okay, one is renting of immovable property. That is, this is a new entry which was inserted. So renting of immovable property was earlier under total direct charge, even if it was provided by the government. Now they have made it under partial reverse charge from 1st of October 2019 by this entry. And if you look at this, it says that renting of immovable property to a person registered under GST. So if a registered person procure any renting of immovable property from the government, then it is payable under reverse charge. But iske andar bhi again thoda sa confusion rahega, particularly not in the normal, because normally when the business take any immovable property from the government on rent, fine, they know that it is payable under reverse charge. But if suppose there is a case of an individual who is also registered under GST, in that case, even if he takes some community hall for his personal purposes, so there could be some issue in that. But I believe that the common sense would prevail there, and there should not be an issue here under reverse charge. Now coming to the most interesting and the most popular topic of discussion nowadays, that is services supplied by a director of a company or a body corporate to the said company. I think this was, we were knowing this entry, this was existing again in the service tax also, and it was going on. And what are these services? Director provides services to the company, and then the company pays tax for whatever remuneration it pays to the director, consideration, usually sitting fee for the directors. Now, what happened that directors say, if we start looking there, but we have to read the corresponding entry in Schedule 3. It says services by an employee to the employer in the course of or in relation to his employment are not chargeable to GST. Having said that, now the question comes, can director be an employee or can an employee be a director of the company? And if we look for the answer, in fact, the practice which we have adopted for a very, very long time is that the executive directors who are full-time director or managing directors are considered as employees of the company, and the non-executive director like independent director or nominated directors are not considered as employees of the company. They are considered as external parties. So as a matter of practice, what people follow, that whatever remuneration is paid to the external directors, on that the reverse charge is paid by the company, and whatever remuneration is given to the executive directors, that is actually like a salary to them, that is part of the salary, and therefore there is no chargeability of GST on that. That was a kind of settled position for a very long time, because this entry was going on from the service tax time. But recently an advance ruling has come in GST, which has actually started a new debate. And this advance ruling is in the case of Messrs. Claycraft India Private Limited. In this case also, the directors were doing very usual activities. Directors were working as employees and they were involved in the various in-house activities. They were doing procurement, they were doing management, they were supervising the manufacturing and all those things. They were paid salaries, and these salaries are actually booked as salaries in the books of the company, and the TDS is also deducted under Income Tax Act. Then PF and other benefits were also deducted from that amount. And in the Companies Act also, when we report as the director's remuneration, so that comes in that total thing. So from the perspective of all the allied acts also, the practice is that was practically considered as salary. But what the advanced ruling authority said, it said, director is not the employee of the company, simply. The sentence which they said, director is not the employee of the company, for this sentence, they have not given any speaking order. They simply reached to this conclusion. They have not explained how they have reached to this conclusion that director is not the employee of the company. And then they said the consideration paid to director is covered under RCM as mentioned in entry 6 of the notification, which we have read just now. And if I go to the entry 6 again, it is saying services supplied by director of a company or a body corporate to the said company. So this is, see, whatever was provided by the director was services. They were supplied by him. They were supplied to the company, and the consideration was paid by the company. So why they were not covered under this entry? So they go by a very literal interpretation, which is given here without considering the Schedule 3 entry 1. So this ruling, and in fact, prior to this also, there was a negative ruling in the GST scenario. It was in the case of Messrs. Elcon, and where again they held that this is chargeable to the director's salary, even the executive director's salary will get covered under reverse charge. So we have now 2 advanced rulings in the GST scenario. Maybe there may be many more, but I could come across these 2. But still, I would say that there are many reasons because of which we can actually say that this ruling is subject to the dispute, and maybe, you know, we at least my view does not align with the view which is given by the advanced ruling, because there are many other things which we may consider. So I will just quickly go through the other areas where we can look. Directors ki categories we have talked already. Then in the service tax, there was a circular in 2009 where they categorically, the discussion was whether the commission paid to the director would be liable, would be considered as the, you know, payment for the service for the purposes of service tax. So they said no, even the commission was part of the remuneration to the managing director. So that is not considered as a payment for the service, because service is given by an external party. That was the idea behind it. Similarly, for the management consulting services, the similar view was given in the service tax circular. So it was there. And then Supreme Court also held in the context of ESI Act twice that the directors are employees of the company. Of course, this judgment is in the context of the different statute. So we will have to see it from that tangent or context. But yes, there are points which we can see while establishing our argument that the directors who are executive directors, their remuneration should not be chargeable to GST. Reverse charge is something else. If it is chargeable to GST, definitely there would be a reverse charge. But my point is they are not chargeable to GST as such. Now coming to the other entry, I think we can take 1 or 2 more things before we come to the question answer session, seeing the time.
Rohini ji, अब इसमें what do you advise? ये directors remuneration वाला common है, सभी के लिए common है, important है, in view of differing judgments by these 2 authorities. So what should people do? Should they wait for change in law or something? क्या करें वो?
See, to my understanding, as I said, we should go by the practice which we were following earlier. If the directors are executive directors who are considered as employees of the company by all other laws, then in that case, there should not be any taxability. And of course,
even promoter directors are included in this. They are full-time directors.
When we say promoter director, we have actually to see that how that promoter director is providing services, because see, this is a very specific aspect, ना. तो आपका जो functions हैं, अगर आप उसमें executive functions कर रहे हैं सारे company के अंदर, so then you know it should be a salary. In fact, इसमें एक बड़ा एक harmonized view भी हो सकता है. Okay, let us discuss that also. Yeah. Because see, if I say again, if I go to the entry, it says services provided by director. It is not saying what kind of services it is talking about. Yeah, the word service. So when we say services provided by director, that should mean the services provided by a person in the capacity of a director.
Right.
So when I say in the capacity of the director, then the director does not provide executory functions. The money which a person gets every month as a director, because he's a director, because we people usually do not differentiate by words in our agreements or in our documents. So when a person is getting salary for supervising, for overseeing, for doing many activities like you also do in your company, then a director would not do that as a director. The director's job is what? If I go deep into the Companies Act, director's job is to it is a decision-making advisory kind of a thing. Yeah.
To direct.
Is to direct. Director is to direct. So maybe, you know, अगर आपको बहुत harmonized बनाना है, so I think the best would be to actually improvise on our documentation, where we say that as a director आप उनको खाली setting fee दीजिए ना. Are you getting my point? We may, if we want to be very, very profound in our planning, one view we can take here that I don't agree, which actually I don't agree, that the directors of the executive directors should be considered as taxable under reverse charge. But I would say that if you want to save yourself from litigation or you want to mitigate any liability, if there is any, it is better, you know, if in our documentation we differentiate those two things. We say that as a director I do this, and for this the consideration is this. This is the sitting fee on which you pay. Agar aapko thoda safe side chalna hai, to you pay the tax on that small amount. But this total salary, nobody can ever say that the total salary which is given to the director is director's remuneration. So I will go to that tangent in fact.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. So now I think I will leave this authors and publishers ka chota sa bolti hu, because I do not know how much time. Should I take 10 more minutes, Rajiv?
Yeah. Go ahead.
After that we can take up questions.
Right.
Yeah. So ये another entry जो कि ये भी एक थोड़ा सा difficult entry है. It is services by authors to publishers के context में I have taken this entry, although it is including the services by the artist, origin artist and drama artist, music composers, etc. also. So it is earlier only entry 9 was existing, which was also including 9A within it. And from 1st of October 2019, this entry was broken into two parts, 9 and 9A. So 9A is only pertaining to authors now, and 9 pertains to all other artists, other type of dramatic, musical and artistic works. So I will focus my discussion on 9A. 9A is saying, it is, if I look at the service, it is services of transfer or permitting the use or enjoyment of a copyright relating to original literary works. अब इसके अंदर every word is important. तो पहली बार मेरा service क्या है? I am permitting the use or enjoyment of a copyright, but it should relate to original literary work. Now the question comes, what is original literary work? The word original literary work has not been defined in the GST law. Where it is defined, I should go to Copyright Act, because this has come from Copyright Act only. And if I go to Copyright Act per se, so this is not defined. Even the Copyright Act ke andar, there are manuals and other things where it has been defined, and it surprisingly it is including any text which you create. That means agar मैं आपकी students के books पर भी जाऊँ, the text of that student books is also getting into original literary, because literary देख करके in India many publishers and authors thought that we are not getting covered here. But if I go to the Copyright Act is protecting only this. So if the Copyright Act is protecting copyright on every text which is created by a person, then everybody is getting into this original literary work. And in fact, you will get some Supreme Court rulings and other elaboration in the copyright manuals also. So there you will find that almost every book which is originally created by any person will get covered here. But इसके अंदर दोनों चीजें होनी चाहिए, copyright relating to original literary. Again, another very interesting thing which comes is, this service should be provided by whom? By an author only. Now the question is, who is an author? Suppose a person who writes this book is an author, and when he transfers this copyright to a publisher, then fine, you know, it becomes a service under reverse charge, as it is said. But suppose this author dies, the books keep getting published over years and years, and the heirs of this author, now they are getting royalty from the publisher. The question is, will they get covered under reverse charge? Can we say that the heirs of this author are authors? Although the service is in permitting use and enjoyment of a copyright, which is in relation to original literary work. So in this case, there would be no reverse charge. This is a very significant minor point which I'm making here. And again, when we say reverse charge here, it means service GST. If there is a reverse charge, then GST is liable to be paid by the publisher. If it is a direct charge, liable to be paid by an author. और इसमें जो मेरे को आपका attention invite करना है, वो किस fact पर करना है कि 9A में अब अगर आप देखेंगे कि सरकार ने why they have differentiated between 9 and 9A. From 1st October 2019, they have given an option to the author that, okay, you can opt for the direct charge under this. And this option is actually defying the very basics of the threshold limit. Because it is not that ki agar ek author, suppose generally authors are lecturers. Suppose an author is earning a salary of say 1 lakh a month, 12 lakh rupees, and he is getting a royalty of 2 lakh rupees from the books which he has written. Now, in this case, if there is a direct charge, then in the usual course, there should not be any GST because his total income shall be less than 20 lakhs. But in this case, it will not be feasible because they have said under 9A ke niche conditions hai, what they have said that when the director can opt for direct charge only when he takes a GST number and he informs about this GST number to his jurisdiction. So if a person takes GST number, even when he is having only 5 lakh of total income, he will have to pay GST on the entire income, which is taxable under GST. So that means even if director, they have not given the benefit of threshold to an author under this entry, which I feel is actually, this is not just. Practically, when we talk about the school books and these kind of things where the government wants to give relief to the education sector, this is a double whammy, I would say. एक और इसके अंदर इंटरेस्टिंग एस्पेक्ट है जो मैं अभी के लिए छोड़ रही हूँ because I think we've got larger things to discuss. Now I come to another interesting entry which is regarding the renting of motor vehicle. ये भी बहुत common entry है.
मेरे ख्याल से questions काफी हैं. Can we start the questions?
I think that is okay. We can do that.
कि ये रॉयल्टी के ऊपर भी कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं, मैं उनको भी आपसे एक बार पूछ लेता हूँ.
ठीक है राजीव, whatever way you say.
Okay.
Yeah.
एक तो यही पूछ रहे हैं कि हम CA सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं एंड वी हैव आल्सो रिटन अ बुक एंड रॉयल्टी पे पब्लिशर ने RCM पे टैक्स डिपॉजिट किया है. डज ही नीड टू रिपोर्ट इट इन GST or 3B?
नहीं, आप सप्लायर हैं सर्विसेज के और आपने जो रॉयल्टी वाली सर्विस सप्लाई की है वो उसके
he's a CA.
हाँ.
And he has written a book and उस पे रॉयल्टी मिली है, पब्लिशर ने RCM में डिपॉजिट कर दिया उस पे टैक्स. So he wants to ask whether he has to show that in his 3B. तो CA का उसका practice है उसमें?
Yeah, उसमें होगा ना column the supplies on which the supplies on which the other person is liable to pay the tax totally.
ठीक है, तो उसमें वहाँ दिखाना पड़ेगा.
Yeah, in fact, see, अगर हम देखें ना रिटर्न को तो एक जनरल चीज दिमाग में रख सकते हैं that whatever is my total supply should reflect somewhere for the government.
Right.
Yeah.
Then एक वही जो आप बोल रहे थे कि if the author dies and later on it is being updated by somebody else, जैसे रमैया के केस में कह रहे हैं, तो उसके केस में क्या होगा?
हाँ, yeah, see the point is again यहाँ पर ये होता है कि when your updation, do you become an author when the book is published? Suppose if you look at the front page of the book, it says authored by this person, updated by this person. If it is written on the book, then you are not an author. Yeah. So in that case, there should be no reverse charge और ये double whammy है फिर से. Why? Because updation आ जाएगी author service which is given to the publisher where even the tax would be 18%. अगर आप author के case में there is a tie, in fact there could be a 12% by or 18% depending upon the niche classification where I have not gone for discussion because it is a longer thing. But yeah, if your status is that of the person who only updates the book and who is not classified as an author, then there is a problem. In this case, again, some planning may help, but I think we can't talk about that right now. Yeah.
Then there's a question from Prakash Bambani ji that what if the author is registered? तो वो RCM में covered होगा या नहीं होगा royalty?
What is?
If the author is registered in GST.
अगर author registered है GST में, तो author के पास option है. He can actually go under direct charge with effect from 1st October 2019.
Right. ये आपकी कुछ तारीफों वाले मैसेजेस हैं वो हम बाद में शेयर कर लेंगे.
आपको इससे
Then somebody is asking whether ITC of RCM is available in the same month or RCM invoice or it is available in the next month.
ये भी एक बहुत अच्छी बात है in fact कि RCM में जहाँ पर बन रहा हो, because क्या है कि there are many areas where we are confused whether the tax is payable or not, whether this that. So the idea ये होता है कि if my total output is taxable and I don't have any issue in taking the ITC, then I should pay the RCM. So, and then I come to month, if I talk about the April month, and if I say that in the month, for the month of April, whatever services I have procured, I have to pay tax under RCM. and this for the same month I have to pay the tax. So first you pay the tax under RCM, take an input credit, and then pay rest of the tax. So it will not be a cost at all. Same month it is adjustable.
Yes, right. Shubham, you can also, in the meantime, take queries as I scroll down.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
And there's a question on how, can you throw some light on how to determine interstate and intrastate transaction in case of RCM transaction?
ये थोड़ा सा interstate or intrastate. See, interstate or intrastate, it depends on the place of supply, even if it is RCM. So what is the location of the supplier and what is the location of recipient would always matter to determine the type of tax which is payable under RCM. So I think I do not, अगर तो कोई specific बात है तो मैं कर सकती हूँ, but I think this is what is the point. But it could be, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है, पहले लोगों में एक confusion था कि RCM तभी apply होता है जब intrastate supply हो, which is not the case. So the supply could be either intrastate or interstate. But yeah. There would be an answer.
They are providing the security services, which is liable for RCM as of now, but customer insists us to charge and bill, collect from them and pay.
Pardon?
I think इसमें तो क्या कर सकते हैं? We have to follow the law.
हाँ, Rajiv, yeah.
We are providing the security services, which is liable for RCM, but customer insists us to charge and bill, collect from them and pay.
Customer,
I think one has to follow the law.
I mean,
the recipient.
I understand that one person is providing security services to the other. Then customer is insisting them for what?
कि आप टैक्स बिल में चार्ज करके आप जमा कराओ.
How can bill में charge करके आप जमा कराओ? Okay. So the recipient is saying that the provider should pay while the liability is that of the recipient. That's the point.
Right.
They cannot do it, na? Even if they do it, suppose even if they do it, then the customer, see, इनका तो कुछ नहीं जा रहा because customer is paying money to them. So in fact, customer himself would be at the receiving end because tomorrow the government may issue notice to the customer that you pay the tax. See, what these people will be doing? These will be collecting the tax, collecting the money from him and paying to the government.
ऐसे केसेस में वैसे मैडम the government is getting the tax, तो क्या इसमें कोई benefit मिलता है नहीं मिलता, उसकी liability अपनी जगह पे रहती है
अपनी. See, वो point ही नहीं है ना. अगर government is getting the tax का question होता तो why there would have been RCM only? वो forward charge को ही ढंग से strictly follow कर लेते. There is a system which
जहाँ problem होती है वहाँ RCM लगा देते हैं.
नहीं, actually पता है इसमें
जहाँ problem होती है वहाँ RCM.
Rajiv, there are so many other factors as well. It will not always be revenue neutral. When we are saying the government has got the tax, because are you getting my point? So there could be many tangents to that. So court में जब हम जाते हैं तो that is why we have to first departmental level पर तो आपको आ जाएगी demand. Then you go to the court and then you keep proving that actually it was revenue neutral.
Right.
And then revenue neutrality पर भी because of the Supreme Court's few judgments on revenue neutrality आपको relief मिलेगा. इसके ऊपर merit के ऊपर नहीं मिलेगा relief.
Right.
Sir, ma'am, one query. Just share a query. So here's a query with respect to RCM in case of bank audit. Branch
bad audit.
Any other charges, which are subject to RCM. Most of these charges are in turn collected back from the concerned account holders, meaning thereby there is no amount debited in the P&L account. There is also no GL account for GST under RCM. Now the query is how to keep track on GST under RCM, whether correctly paid or not. This is the first question.
मतलब मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा समझ नहीं आएगी कौन सी वाली हेडिंग है, क्योंकि वैट ऑडिट के ऊपर थोड़ी ना आरसीएम है.
बैंक ऑडिट.
तो बैंक
ऑडिट की बात कर रहे हैं.
नहीं, बैंक ऑडिट पे राजीव, इट इज नॉट एन आरसीएम एंट्री ना. बैंक ऑडिट इज अ डायरेक्ट चार्ज थिंग.
ये क्वेश्चन एक बार शुभम एक बार क्वेश्चन दोबारा पढ़ो.
चलिए, let us presume a service rather than bank audit. Let us presume a service where there is a reverse charge. So now what I have understood broadly is that the way they have maintained their accounts, it is getting into ledger, but it is not getting into their P&L account. That's what he is saying. So that doesn't absolve you from the liability, man. P&L account is only the state of, वो तो मैंने review के लिए बोला था कि that is the way you go to the P&L account and you look at the classification. But we have to go, I mean, we have to improve our accounting, and wherever such kind of transaction which is getting a net of within the ledger itself and which is not appearing here, but still if there is a reverse charge liability, there is a reverse charge liability.
Ma'am, there is a second part to this question. If there is no amount being
There's
debited,
another question.
Yeah, sir.
Shubham, leave it. I think Madam has answered that. Let me take the other question. Supplier is engaged in the exempt supply of goods. He receives services of an advocate. Is he liable to pay tax on legal fee at RCM?
Wonderful. See, ये एक बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन है. 9(3) में एडवोकेट की जहां तक सवाल है, definitely anybody, even if he is not liable to get registered otherwise because of threshold, he will have to get registered if he has sought any service under section 9(3). 9(3) का है advocate में जो है. तो लेकिन particularly for advocate service, I would say there is an exemption as well, which says that if your total supply is less than 20 lakhs, suppose, I do not know the amount of turnover which you are having of the exempt supply. So there are वो जो threshold वाला जो आपको एक advantage है 20 lakh वाला, वो उसमें दिया हुआ है exemption में. But suppose your turnover is more than that, then definitely you will have to get registered and pay tax. And had it been any service other than this advocate service or the government service, then even for 1 rupee you will have to get registered and pay tax under reverse charge.
An RCM of 1718 paid on 15 January 2020, whether ITC would be available or not?
Yeah, it will be available. There was something which was done by the government. I think there was some circular or clarification. I hope, this I will have to check, because आप 20 में पे करा रहे हैं उसको. It was for the 18-19, the clarification which was there.
ये तो 17-18 का कह रहे हैं.
17. Rajiv इसको पाक कर सकते हैं, because I think I may have to ask many other things in this to answer it appropriately. Huh?
I'm handing over goods in Maharashtra for delivery in Gujarat or Delhi. RCM will be intrastate.
क्या handing over goods in?
I'm handing over goods in Maharashtra for delivery in Gujarat or Delhi. RCM will be intrastate. He's asking this question. Not clear, I think.
इसमें RCM कौन सी goods है? See. Okay, you are saying that the goods are under RCM that they know. Yeah, ये hypothetical question बनाया हुआ है राजीव. You are handing over goods in Maharashtra. That means the supplier is in Maharashtra. That's what you are saying. And if the goods are getting, है ना, getting delivered का तो अब कुछ, I mean जो आपका recipient है, suppose वो दिल्ली में है, तो वो फिर interstate हो गया.
Okay. Okay.
But hypothetical question का hypothetical answer है.
There's another question: whether unregistered person is liable to pay tax under RCM under 9(3) and 9(4)?
Yeah, this is a good question. See, for 9(3), even if a person is unregistered for all the services covered under 9(3), there would be a liability under reverse charge, as we have discussed, unless there is a specific exemption up to specific limit, जैसा कि advocates में और government में है. But in case of 9(4), unregistered person has no liability. Because 9(4) में reverse charge applies only for the supplies which are made by unregistered to registered person. So recipient, if recipient is not registered, there is no RCM in 9(4).
Right. Okay. And there's another question: we pay as a commission to NRI or foreign company against import of goods, payment through 15CA and 15CB, and RCM is applicable or not?
Import of goods किया है आपने?
They are paying some commission to NRI or foreign company against import of goods.
एक मिनट, जो commission है, that is for the marketing. I mean, see यहाँ थोड़ा सा एक gap है राजीव. जो commission payment है वो किसी service के लिए है ना?
Obviously.
तो वो तो आप service के उसकी बात कर रहे हैं RCM की?
Import of
RCM की story नहीं आती ना. Import of goods पे जो tax होता है वो तो customs के अंदर जाता है. Whatever GST I pay, IGST on import of goods, the taxability of import of goods particularly is not covered under GST law.
नहीं, ये लेकिन कमीशन जो इन्होंने एनआरआई को दिया है उसके ऊपर ना, उसमें उन्होंने हेल्प करी है जो उनकी इंपोर्ट के लिए.
ये एक बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है हमारे लॉ में. When we ask the question, we need to tell, if we are talking about the RCM position of a given supply, then you need to tell me the supply, where is the supplier, what is the service, and where is the recipient. So when you say that you have paid commission to an NRI, I presume that the person is out of India to whom you have paid the commission, and I presume that
Right.
you are in India, and then I presume that the services are that of marketing, which is nowhere there. I presume that. पर वो कैसे होगा? Because this is import of good situation. तो ये थोड़ा सा disconnect है इसके अंदर. तो ये place of supply
ठीक है.
का है. But if the services are that of marketing for which I have given commission to a person who is sitting in foreign and the services are provided there, then I think उसके अंदर taxability है नहीं. हमारा जो place of supply है वो defined है, the place of the service provider. वो ये intermediary वाला situation है ये राजीव.
ठीक है, we need more clarity on the question first. ठीक है. Then there's another question, whether rent paid to director can be covered under RCM under the notification of services provided by director to the company.
No, rent paid to director, how it will get covered? No. We see, again, as we discussed, na, services by directors. So, यहाँ पर ये नहीं है कि anything which is done by the director will be done in the capacity of the director. So, I think the harmonized interpretation would be the services which a person provides in the capacity of a director.
Right. Okay. Then in case of bank, ITC is restricted to 50% as per the provisions of section 17 subsection 4. Whether the same rule of 50% would apply to in case of GST paid under RCM by the banker?
Yeah, actually, see, when suppose there is a banker who is procuring some services or goods directly by paying to the vendor and paying GST to the vendor, and some services or goods under reverse charge. So the total tax which he has paid in the direct charge as well as in the reverse charge will constitute his input tax credit, and out of that he will be eligible for 50%.
Okay. In ROC fees, whether RCM will be applicable?
ROC fee, taxability, RCM कहाँ से आ गया? अच्छा, okay. There are some exemptions actually, na? So I think that will get under exempt. Taxability nahi hai.
Right. So e-commerce operator collected GST on behalf of cab owner and gave invoice without mentioning GST in, whether it is correct?
क्या? E-commerce operator collected GST on behalf of the cab
owner and gave invoice without mentioning the GST number. Is it correct?
Gave invoice to whom?
The user.
User को कहाँ cab invoice देता है? See, if we are talking about an aggregator.
ओला वगैरह की जैसे आती है मैडम, ओला वगैरह की इनवॉइस आती है ना?
अच्छा. Okay.
Right.
See, if then GST should have been mentioned on that.
Yeah, charge किया तो होना चाहिए mention.
There is no exemption to the aggregator to not to mention GST on the invoice.
Right. एक और interesting question है, if a director receives more than ₹20 lakhs as remuneration in a year, is he required to get registered under the GST Act?
This again will roll down to this, कि whether the remuneration to the director shall be considered as a salary or not. So I think हम उसी basic पर पहुंच जाते हैं. तो मेरे हिसाब से तो again the best would be if the director is taking salary from the company for his executory work, he should not actually differentiate it from the money which he is taking as director. So in that case there should not be an issue because बाकी का reverse charge में आ जाएगा, the company will pay and the rest will be salary.
Right. In GT के आप बात कर रहे थे तो whether the GT not charge 12% on some services and reverse charge on the other?
No, not at all. This is very important. No GTA can do that.
एक ही चीज करना पड़ेगा उसको.
हाँ, अगर GTA 12% charge कर रहा है अपने invoices के ऊपर और input tax credit ले रहा है, that GTA cannot provide any service under reverse charge to the recipient.
Okay. GTA से related एक और question है, whether person arranging transport services on commission basis for a company be considered as GTA?
Then?
Whether person arranging transport services on commission basis for a company be considered as GTA?
No, ये भी एक interesting point है. See, I think in this question what you are saying is that there are three parties. One is the company hires the other person, that you arrange a GTA for me, you do negotiations with that person and all, and then I will give you commission. That's why the company will give him commission. So in this case, GTA is the person who will finally be providing the services of transport from destination A to destination B.
Right.
Will be issuing the consignment note. So this person will only be a mediator, a commission agent type of a person. So he will not be considered as GTA.
Not a GT. Okay. And Indian Railways should be considered as a government, जो exemptions वगैरह उसके लिहाज से.
Yeah, Indian Railway is a government department actually.
Okay. Whether ITC is available on GST paid on Speed Post?
GST paid on?
Speed Post.
Yes. अगर आप Speed Post के ऊपर you have paid GST, and that Speed Post was for the purposes of your business, you will get ITC for that. Any tax, any input tax which you have paid under reverse charge is generically available as ITC to you as the other taxes which you have paid to the vendors.
Somebody is asking if rent is more than 20 lakhs, then one has to get registered. I think the answer is yes.
Pardon me, I can't hear you properly.
Rent अगर 20,000 से ज़्यादा है तो फिर obviously registration लेना पड़ेगा.
Rent 20 lakhs से ज़्यादा है.
Right.
Somebody is receiving. This is regarding registration. This is a question of registration.
Yes, right.
हाँ, ये तो फिर registration है. Rent, it is not only rent.
लेना ही पड़ेगा
उसको अपना total देखना पड़ेगा, structure जो भी है ना, वो 20 लाख से ज़्यादा ही होगा in any case.
Right. And another question is there, recovery agent services needs tax to be paid under RCM. GST has been paid by the banker to the agent as it was raised in bill. Can ITC be paid if it is paid to the agent?
It is the services of recovery agent on which the person who is hiring the recovery agent, he pays tax under reverse charge. That's what you are saying, na?
Yeah.
Yeah, he can take ITC on that because that is very well part of his basic services of a banker or NBFC or whichever.
Okay. Is composition dealer allowed to purchase goods from unregistered party? The question is in context of all services under RCM under 9.3 and 9.4.
Yeah, in fact, composition, any person who is under composition, although he is not charging regular tax to the people to whom he is supplying goods or services, but whatever input goods or services he procures, he is liable to pay taxes under 9.3 and under 9.3. 9.4 की नौबत आएगी नहीं because under 9.4 only select people are there, and the composition में those services are not allowed, construction services till date. So yes, he will be liable to pay tax under RCM.
Shubham, do you have any queries?
Yeah, sorry.
No.
Shubham के पास कुछ queries है?
No, sir. I think we have made all the queries. I think so. The session was.
एक आध और मैं ले लेता हूँ. I think if we have some more 5 minutes more. Government is charging lease rent on land allotted to the company for setting up of industry. In this case, whether RCM will be applicable on lease rent?
Yeah, this is an interesting question. In fact, see, अगर मैं generically बोलूँ, तो lease rent charged by the government, yes, it is liable to GST, and therefore the recipient shall be liable to pay the tax under reverse charge. But there are certain exemptions in the law. That is for the land lease rent for the land allotted for the industrial purposes. So in this particular case, since your question is saying about industry, so there would be no tax at all. Mane, it is basically a question on the taxability. And if there is a taxability, there would be a reverse charge. If there is no taxability, there would be no reverse charge.
Ma'am, one more thing. Someone is asking your view on the ocean freight judgment.
Okay.
Yeah, what is your view on that?
See, that is very, बहुत ही अच्छी Mohit Mandel's की judgment you are talking about. So that judgment is, I would say it is very positive, and I will just give a little context to that. That ocean freight, what is happening, that there are two ways that we import the goods, either on the CIF basis or on the FOB basis. When we import the goods on CIF basis, that means carriage insurance freight is included in the value which an importer is already paying as a part of the value of goods to the person who is exporter in the other country.
Right.
So since the freight part is paid by the exporter who is in the other country hires the person who will be actually shipping line, I would say, to who will be actually transporting the goods to India. Suppose we are talking about Japan and India. So the person in the exporter in Japan hires a shipping line in Japan to export the goods in India, which is imported by the Indian person. So what is this entry was actually ocean freight. Here, what has happened? Suppose the value of goods was 100 rupees and the value of freight which he would have incurred, because we do not know what the other person exporter would have incurred. Suppose he charges a comprehensive value of 150 rupees for the goods to the Indian importer. Indian importer pays customs duty and IGST on that amount. So in a way, the tax is paid on the freight amount also, as far as GST is concerned. But what our law said that, see, in such a scenario where the supplier is the person resident in non-taxable territory and the recipient of the transport service is also in the non-taxable territory, in that case, the Indian importer, not the recipient, the Indian importer will pay tax on the freight amount under reverse charge. Now, the another question was, how would he know that how much was the freight amount charged? Then the law said you presume that it is 10% of the total CIF value of the import which you made. So this was actually an incorrect law, double taxation and everything, and it was put in the GST Council also, but it was deferred. Now the Mohit Minerals in the Gujarat High Court has come out with a very interesting judgment, which is logically just up to the mark. Because what has happened that in this notification where the tax is levied, it is saying that the importer shall be the person liable to pay the tax for the freight charge, which has occurred outside India. Now we go to section 9.3, which we discussed in the beginning, where we said that what is the power of the government under 9.3? Power of the government under 9.3 is to say that जो recipient है वो किस situation के अंदर reverse charge जो है वो entries pay करेगा. So now this importer is actually not recipient of service. So recipient of service is whom? The foreign exporter who actually hired the foreign freight wala to transport the goods. So here, since importer is not the recipient, so the question is whether my main legislation, which was 9.3, was empowering the government to issue this delegated legislation notification in which they said that the importer shall be liable to pay the tax under reverse charge. But this is one, which is the very basic thing, which is a judgment of the High Court, although it has gone to Supreme Court, but I think it's going to go a long way because the logic is very, very profoundly placed. Apart from this, one more thing I would talk about this, that when they made this law, uske jo allied procedures the, they were not there. Mane, if he's an import, how he will get the input credit? Suppose I presume that the importer pays this tax. When he pays this tax, how he will show in his return? How he will take the input credit for this? So there were no corresponding procedures made for him to comply the law, to make the proper compliance and take the benefit of whatever tax the government is demanding, which he has paid. So this was in itself, the law is not prepared to take care of this kind of thing. If I even leave the topic of double taxation. And if I go to the service tax regime, a very interesting thing I would like to share here, that this entry was made taxable in the service tax regime as well as late as in, I think, June 2016. July 2017, GST has come. And since June 2016, they were experiencing that we have forgot to make, same thing happened. They forgot to make the entry for ITC, the arrangement for ITC and for return and all. लेकिन उसके अंदर एक बड़ा पॉजिटिव एक डिफरेंट चीज था जीएसटी में, जिसमें हमने अभी शुरू में डिस्कशन किया जीएसटी और सर्विस टैक्स में. वहां जो रिवर्स चार्ज था, जो लॉ था, दैट वाज सेइंग एनी पर्सन अदर देन द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर could have been a person, the government could define that any person other than the service provider is liable to pay the tax. Here what we are saying, any person other than service provider, we are not saying. Here we are saying where recipient instead of service provider is liable to pay the tax. तो पहली बात, सर्विस टैक्स का जो मेन लेजिस्लेशन था, that was allowing government to make importer liable to pay the tax. दूसरी बात, the service tax, they realized in July 2017 that we have not made proper provisions, so they inserted provisions regarding the ITC, regarding the return. So they made all the allied provisions, because of which the invoice could be issued. I mean, because there should be some document invoice to this person can himself issue to him, I mean, in case of reverse charge. So I think, nutshell here, the situation is that, seeing the total legal position, if I look at the, unless they change the main legislation, there is no way that the government can get through. I mean, of course, again, legal things you can't be very sure, but I would say that this Mohit Minerals judgment is a landmark judgment, and the government should now do it administratively rather than getting into litigation. So I think this was all I wanted to say about this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It was
ma'am, for
precisely explained.
elaborately explaining this. एक और query है. Alcohol is exported, that is non-GST item exported, but GST paid on CHA and other charges, and RCM GST paid on transportation. What to do to get refund of GST paid under RCM and GST paid to CHA? The same was allowed under the old service tax regime.
See, this is an item which is not considered as supply at all. There are two situations, One is when I say exempt supply, even for an export exempt supply, I do get the benefit. Maybe, I think this is an interesting thing. I would not like to answer it offhand. I'll have to check whether we can get this benefit or not. So maybe, I can revert later on this, but I will surely revert to you. You can send it to
Sure. And there's a question. A college teacher wrote a book on mathematics for graduation students. Publisher paid rupees 20 lakhs as royalty. Should the author pay GST under reverse charge?
See, when we say under reverse charge, that means publisher is liable to pay the tax. Because author is the supplier of service and royalty is the consideration which is given by the publisher to the author. So practically it is the publisher who is liable to pay under the reverse charge. And for that 20 lakh doesn't have to be weighted. Even for 1 rupee, the publisher is liable to pay the tax in the reverse charge.
Okay.
I have a query from the live streaming where we have goods from GTA during March month, but freight is paid during April. Then in which month do we need to pay GST on RCM basis?
Goods purchased in March. Matlab service was taken in March.
Right. But
and
April.
Freight was paid in
April. Next month.
April. तो आपका जो इसमें जो time of supply है ना इस केस में तो payment of उसके साथ होता है. Actually, see, for the reverse charge scenario, time of supply is separately defined under the law. And for that time of supply, if you will go and see, that is mainly related to the date of payment, but there are other coordinates also. So if I believe that other coordinates remain okay, then it is the date of payment, and then whatever date you have paid the freight, that is the month with which you have to annex your reverse charge liability.
Right. So do you have any questions?
एक और हम last में questions ले लेते हैं. Reading books supplied by a publisher are exempt from GST. Would publishers still have to pay GST on author's royalty under reverse charge?
Yes. अब इसके अंदर क्या हुआ है कि जो publisher है उसकी output supply है सारी exempt है. That's what I have understood. So if output supply is exempt, still whatever are the input tax liabilities he will have to discharge. So it will become a cost in fact.
Okay. Then एक restaurant से related question है. In case restaurant is paying GST under the RCM, would it be eligible for ITC in case it is paying output taxes at special rate?
See, if a restaurant is paying output tax at a special rate, that is without ITC. Special rate means 5% without ITC wala situation. So if he is not eligible to take ITC of any input taxes which he has paid, so even the taxes which he has paid under RCM will not be eligible.
Okay. Shubham, is there any query? Last query कोई आप लेना चाहें तो otherwise we are already run out of time.
I think that's all, sir. We connected more than 250 people on this platform, and around 300 people were live on Facebook as well. So I think so.
We can share the chat with Rohini ji, where people are complimenting her and they really enjoyed the session and found it very useful. And I'll share the chat with her later on so that she can see.
That is what I was about to say, sir. So we've received around
for this deliberation.
Yes, so it
and
was
we
a
also
great
thank
presentation,
the participants for doing the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you all who were being there. Thanks a lot.
I would also like to mention that tomorrow is the 4th day of the series, and which will be taken by Advocate Ishan Patrakar. And the topic for tomorrow's deliberation will be the concept of supply with practical examples and foreign cases. So I think it's again going to be very exciting, and we are bringing the best faculties, the expert people on the various topics from entire country. We have been appreciated for this. So I would like to see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rajesh sir. Thank you so much, Rohini ma'am, for today's delivery.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.